Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Demystifying SAP S4HANA. I'm Faisal, SAP consultant at PwC.
And I'm Thorsten Hübsch, partner at PwC and leading the SAP practice in Belgium and the European Center of Excellence for SAP Strategy.
Hi, Thorsten.
Hi, Faisal.
So in this episode, we will tackle how you are getting concretely started in your S4HANA transformation journey, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a deep dive into the last part of our previous episode, right?
Yes, correct, Faisal.
The what question within a customer journey. But for the listeners that zapped into this episode, last time Thorsten explained in a nutshell how a typical customer journey looks like by answering the three main questions, the why, the how, and the what.
Exactly.
Don't hesitate to listen to this one first to know a little bit more about it. But tell me, Thorsten, how does a customer start with their journey?
Yeah, when the customer starts an S4HANA journey, she or he will doubtlessly stumble over the methodology SAP Activate. This is basically the quasi-standard when implementing an SAP system, and it basically runs you through the different phases, being discover, prepare, explore, realize, deploy, and run. So when we just go over that very quickly, we will see that in the discover phase, it is all about preliminary project assessment. What are the solution options? Understanding the solution, that people get a feel for the S4HANA, before then going into the prepare phase, where basically project management is set up, where governance is been putting in place, but also where the tooling is then set up in order to the system itself, the S4HANA system itself, but also the tooling in order to define processes, define requirements, and implement them. What we do then basically in the next phases of the explore and the realize. Before then, we prepare the cutover and set up the production system and basically get the customer organization ready to go towards the go live and the final moment when you switch from the old to the new solution. So this is a bit like the SAP Activate in a very short nutshell.
But then everything is kind of clear. We just deploy SAP Activate. Why this episode? I mean, looks pretty simple to me, no?
Yeah, Faisal, if it would be that simple, it would be great. But if you would do that exactly in that way, as I just described it, and you would only rely on SAP Activate, it's quite sure that you probably would not succeed. And the reason is actually the answer is actually in the previous episodes, because you might remember we had this why question, the value that we want to actually realize with that expensive, very costly transformation that needs a lot of your resources. You also would we had also highlighted the importance of stakeholder management and a lot of other elements, and that actually means that with this SAP Activate, you're only tackling the technology part. You're only tackling actually the part of the implementation and designing and implementation, but not the elements around it. So therefore, we actually need something more that is still related to SAP Activate. And here, I think the PwC delivery methodology is worth mentioning, PDM, that offers a lot more a business-focused approach rather than only focusing like SAP Activate on the technology part of it.
PwC delivery methodology. I'm curious. Tell me more about it, please.
Yeah. Let me maybe start a bit more what's actually missing when we only would start and embark on an S4HANA journey with with the SAP Activate methodology. So it is, as I mentioned, very technical. It is trying to introduce and bring to the end users and to stakeholders the system itself very early. Discovery phase means discovering the system. It's also assuming that the best practice processes, which are doubtlessly a really great asset, will actually do the complete job, and you just need to do a bit of fit gap of these processes, and then the solution will be ready. This might be certainly the case in simple constellations, but usually we see that S4HANA is used in large organizations where best practices are something to discover the system, but certainly not close enough to the business itself. So in a nutshell, SAP is focusing very little on stakeholder management and value identification and tracking. It also is focusing to a quite limited way on the program management and the change management, elements that are very often underrated and are not taken care of sufficiently. I myself have been involved in an implementation which was based on the big success criteria. Successful means it delivered what was asked in scope-wise. It was also within the budget that has been agreed initially, and the timeline. So if we talk about time, scope, and budget, the project was absolutely successful. Only problem was that no one used the system afterwards, which of course is certainly an indication that the project cannot be seen as successful despite these three checks in the box for scope, time, and budget. And the reason is that there was not enough focus on change management. There was not enough focus on stakeholder management, getting the people on board with the new solutions. But also, when we talk about the processes and controls, all that is not that much highlighted in the SAP methodology, as well as aspects that go beyond the actual S4 solution. Because let's be clear, we never operate in an isolated environment. That might have been the case many years ago, where in a monolithic system like the SAP ECC, you could basically reflect the majority of your processes. But if we now look at ERPs as they have evolved over time, even the old ones now in 2024, 2025, we see that they make part of an ecosystem of many applications with a lot of interfaces, processes going back and forth between the solutions. So it might make sense also to look at in the methodology that you apply on all these elements in a broader perspective. So when you look at data, when you look, for example, at your customer data, then it's not only about your S4 system. It will also include your CRM system. If you look at your supplier data, it also might make sense to include the supplier systems, supplier relationship management systems. And I haven't even started about the supply chain part, which also, of course, requires a reach or, let's say, a perspective which goes much beyond your current project, your current solution that you have in scope, but which basically tackles it from an organization-wide perspective. There was a big bracket now. Let me close that, because all of that is basically incorporated in the PDM, in the PwC delivery methodology, which simply takes it from a much broader perspective that at the end helps that all fits together, that everything is seamlessly working together then also later when it goes towards go live. And that's basically the added value of PDM. Mm-hmm. Where basically also pre-built assets help you to get a fast start. So we also, by the way, and we will put that in the show notes, have a big asset repository for SAP Activate. But if we look there in detail, most of these assets are outdated. SAP Activate is nothing that you have to pay for. So also the focus in terms of keeping it up to date is not really very high. While we are actually using, from all the projects that we do throughout the globe, we anonymize a lot of assets. We will also then make them partly available in our solutions. So when we start a new project, We are not starting from zero. We are not starting from empty page, but we are starting from pre-built assets that are using the experience and the expertise that we have gathered over the past years. And the second element is PDM comes with a tool that allows the collaboration across all project phases. It's a cloud-based tool where you define everything around your vision and strategy, and you can document it there. So you are always having that back at your fingertips when it is needed throughout your, most of the time, multi-year journey. But also that you have basically a possibility to define the values, track the value, all elements that you do not have. So here we have actually the possibility to work together with the different participants of the project, be it the partners, be it the client, be it also other providers, be it SAP, throughout all the project phases that such a journey incorporates.
You mean like SAP Cloud ELM? Or?
Actually not, because SubCloud LM is exactly going more towards the technical activities. It by no means intends to be a project management tool. Okay. So it certainly is the tool to go for when starting an S4HANA journey, especially in private cloud, also in public cloud. In public cloud, it's mandatory. In private cloud, it's very highly recommended. That you definitely should use that for defining requirements, for defining work packages, for managing all your implementation with the different transport requests. But PDM is much more. PDM is based on Concur's a cloud-based solution that allows actually continuous integration and continuous deployment. So there we actually managed to reflect the different sub-activate phases. We also managed to interface that with other tools like Cloud ALM, but also Jira, so that you have a single cockpit for everything that you need in order to perform the different activities throughout the project.
Sounds really exciting. It's almost like science fiction, to be honest.
Yes, indeed. Actually, a couple of years ago, this certainly would have been seen as science fiction. But now it is a reality. We have now also the possibility to use the latest features of AI. So when, for example, creating documents. So let's be honest, when you have a design document for, let's say, finance, a lot of elements are standard elements. When you give, in this case, an AI engine some hints, it will definitely produce already, let's say, a good starting point that you can use basically then to tailor. I think some of us have experienced that partners came up with documents that very much looked like copy-paste. Copy-paste is not needed. With AI, you can tailor a 50 to 60% starting point of a document, of a deliverable, which you then can tailor to the needs, to the specific needs of an organization, and not, let's say, waste time on things that are common in this case, for example, for accounting. And where you don't have a possibility to deviate left to right, and which is simply then part of design fundamentals.
Really cool how technology advanced at the moment. But let me summarize a little bit for the listeners. So when debarking on an S4HANA journey, we should not start with Activate, right?
Yes,
it's
right.
Too much focused on the technology aspect. So instead, you advise to use more business-oriented methodologies as PDM, PwC delivery methodology, that allows a holistic start with the tooling that helps documenting the answers on the why and the how that we discussed in the previous episode. And tooling that supports our customer as well with a collaboration platform through all phases of an S4HANA journey. Is that kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, spot on, Faisal. It helps you simply to get started on the right foot without stumbling already in the first meters or getting stuck later on in the mud of SharePoint repositories with hundreds of documents that people try with a lot of overhead to structure according to the project. And so there, exactly this PDM, which is helping you to already have this template for an S4HANA project, helps you very much from the start, but then also throughout the whole journey to keep track and to keep an overview and also keep the things together and consistent, so that you are not deviating, which we also sometimes see that you have a neatly designed phase with a lot of PowerPoints where also processes are well described, for example, in ARIS or in other tools and other process tools like Signavio from SAP. And then later on, when you look into the solution, you do not recognize anymore what you actually designed. All that can actually not happen in PDM because everything is fitting together, like you could say in a gearbox, enhanced with capabilities that simply help you not to reinvent the wheel, but to make use of assets that have been useful or identified as useful in previous projects.
Thank you, Torsten. Ending this episode with a small piece of advice again by Torsten himself. Let's take notes, guys. Are you excited to hear more about S4HANA? Subscribe to our podcast and never miss an episode again. See you in the next one.
Great. Thanks a lot, Faisal. And also looking forward to the next episode where we will tackle exclusively anything around lessons learned. I'm already excited to share that there were many customers which were really interested into it. So Faisal and myself decided to have a specific episode just around lessons learned of S4HANA projects and S4HANA journeys. Thanks a lot, Faisal. Looking forward to the next one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.